Welcome to the Copper King Mine and Railroad. Today we're going to talk about the last trains at Bingham. Sad days, so stay tuned.
The last train at Bingham. We're going to talk about and show pictures of the last trains coming out of Bingham Canyon. This was a sad day for me because of my love and passion for trains, especially the trains at Bingham. I worked there as my father and my grandfather before me, and many other relatives. This interest in Bingham Canyon and its trains led me to build my model railroad, and then this YouTube channel. My excitement for trains started at a very early age. Here's a picture of my very first train. It was an American Flyer. Then look at this birthday cake train my mother made for me. Then later, I got this nice Lionel train for Christmas when I was 10 years old. It's still really in good shape. I've really taken good care of it. My first HO model railroad layout was on a 4x8 piece of plywood. Sorry I never took any pictures of it. I only have this picture of this plan. And then my train room now, prototype Bingham Canyon Mine. Well, let's show some pictures that I have of the last trains at Bingham. These have two separate dates, the last train out of the mine and then the last train from the Dry Fork reload station. That will end the train era at Bingham. Now these photos are found at utahrails.net. It was the shovel-to-train operation that made the mine successful, mass-producing low-grade ore in volume. That started in 1906, the first steam shovel at Utah Copper, and then the first steam shovel at Boston Consolidated Copper. This shovel-to-train process continued for years. They were constantly making improvements over the years. Shovels from rail to crawler pads, steam to electric trains and shovels, and many other changes. Then in 1963, truck haulage came to the mine. The trucks will remove waste rock in the top two-thirds of the mine, leaving ore haulage to the trains. When ore was found at the higher elevations, trucks would bring it down to a reload station. Then it would be reloaded into a train. Here's some early pictures of those reload stations. In the 1980s, when trucks finally took over the whole mine, it was the reload stations that helped keep the trains running for a few more years. So shoveled the truck and then shoveled the train. Most of the ore was now hauled to the in-pit crusher and then a conveyor system through the old 5490 train tunnel to the new Copperton Mill just outside the town of Copperton. Driving trucks in the early 1970s, I was working at a higher shovel on the west side of the mine. They were digging into a rich ore deposit. It was graveyard shift. There was a security guard sitting there in his pickup truck at the shovel. Now I wish I could show you or explain how hard and how long it took to get down to the reload station. Now here's a primitive map they gave me in 1970 when I started. The red dots show the route down to that reload station. Then the same thing with this 1976 picture. Just follow the red dots down. Now, it took about an hour to make a trip. I was driving a 65-ton haul pack. It was mostly downhill, and these trucks only had a retard pedal that didn't hold back very well. Too much braking and you'd burn out the brakes, so it was a slow process. A fun note is that my curiosity got the best of me. When I took my lunch, finding a flat spot to stop, I crawled up with flashlight in hand and looked in the bed of the truck. You could do this with a 65-ton haul pack, but you certainly couldn't do it now. The trucks are so much bigger. Now these are the two rocks I brought home that night. It's boronite or peacock copper. If someone from the mine management is watching this, sorry, but you can't have them back. Hard time for the mine in the 1980s. Low copper prices, almost a hostile takeover by Curtis Wright, then a sale to British Petroleum, then to Rio Tinto. The 80s brought massive layoffs. Then a $400 million modernization program. With the unions making concessions, will the work continue? With that modernization, the railroad will have to go. It will be the in-pit crusher and conveyor system instead of the trains. From the new Copperton mill, crushed ore concentrate is pumped through a 6-inch slurry line 14.2 miles to the smelter. The tailings are gaunt, moved through a 48-inch line to the tailings compound at Magna. Ironically, the pipelines travel the same route as the old Bingham and Garfield Railroad did. The new system will deliver 77,000 tons a day, compared to the 105,000 tons a day the old railroad method, but with a lot less employees, so it seemed the railroad was doomed. Then an announcement, May 12, 1988, just weeks before the planned rail shutdown. With copper prices soaring, the trains will stay as long as the prices remain high. At one time, there were 22 train crews per shift. 9 of those were on waste rock. So, to the surprise of everyone, trains will get a reprieve. They will remain until the early 2000s. Of course, their operations will be greatly reduced. They will use truck-to-train reload stations, mostly through the 5840 tunnel. Then a new reload station outside the mine at the Dry Fork area. So here's the pictures of the last train being loaded in the mine, March 19th, 2000. We have quite a few pictures of this last train being loaded. The last train leaving the mine in this picture. The last train coming out of the 5840 tunnel exit. Down the rail corridor, note to the left, Bingham Canyon is now being filled in. And then this one shows the new reload station at Dry Fork. It will last another year, this reload station. Then the last train down the 4% to Copperton Yard. Then we have some pictures of the last train at the Dry Fork reload station, and that was May 30th, 2001. The picture shows the last train out of Bingham, and it's fitting that it passes under the new conveyor bridge that replaces the train operation. We will end with the last train passing by Copperton's dispatch tower, never to see a train again. So that's the last trains out of Bingham.